I knew something was off about my neighbor, Mr. Halden, the moment he moved into the old brick house across the street. He was too quiet, too polite, too rich for a neighborhood like mine. He drove a black Mercedes that never had a speck of dust on it. He wore suits even on Sundays, and he paid cash, straight cash, to buy a house worth nearly $2 million without blinking once. People whispered he was some retired tech millionaire, the kind who sells a startup and then hides from the world. But nobody really knew. He never talked about himself, never had visitors, never left town, until the night he knocked on my door at 2:14 a.m. I woke up thinking someone was trying to break in, but when I opened the door, he stood there, pale, shaking, drenched in sweat. I need help," he said quietly. "Please." I should have closed the door. Normal people don't show up in the middle of the night unless something's seriously wrong, but his voice cracked in a way that made me freeze. "Can you help me lift something?" he asked. "Just for a few minutes?" I grabbed my shoes and followed him, half asleep, half curious, fully stupid. His house was spotless. Too spotless. No photos, no decorations. The air smelled like chemicals. He led me to the basement door. Then he hesitated. "I should warn you," he whispered. "What you're about to see. You can't tell anyone." He pushed the door open. At first I didn't understand what I was looking at. It didn't look like a basement. It looked like a laboratory. Stainless steel tables, monitors humming, shelves filled with vials, 3 industrial freezers pressed against the wall, and in the middle of the room, a hospital bed with someone lying on it. A woman, pale, motionless, hooked up to machines. I stumbled back, my heart pounding. "What the hell is this?" He raised his hands. "It's not what you think." "What I think," I snapped, "is that you have a dead body in your basement." "She's not dead." He walked to the bed and gently touched the woman's hand. "She's my wife." I felt sick, because the news, national news, had spent the last year talking about her. Lena Holden, missing, presumed dead. The millionaire philanthropist who vanished without a trace. And here she was, alive, hooked to machines in a basement. I tried to run, but he grabbed my arm, his voice trembling. She wasn't kidnapped. She wasn't murdered. Then he looked straight into my eyes and said, "I'm the one who hit her, and now, people have found us." I didn't know whether to scream, call the cops, or punch him in the face. My brain was firing in every direction at once. "You hid your wife from the entire country?" I whispered harshly. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked past me and locked the basement door. Not soft, not gentle. He slammed it shut like someone who knew exactly how dangerous the world outside had become. "She wasn't safe," he finally said. "She still isn't?" I backed away, keeping distance between us. "Safe from who? From you?" He didn't flinch. "No," he said quietly. "Safe from the people who wanted her gone." Then he did something I never expected. He grabbed a dusty cardboard box from under the metal table, opened it, and pulled out a stack of old photographs. He tossed them onto the steel countertop so hard they scattered across the room. "Look." I hesitated, but curiosity won. I stepped closer and froze. Every photo showed the same woman, Lena, but not the glamorous, perfect heiress from newspapers and charity galas. These were different. Bruises, stitches, a cast, a neck brace. And next to her, in almost every picture, stood a group of men in suits. Not just any men, powerful ones, politicians, CEOs, bank owners, faces I'd seen on magazine covers. I picked up one photo. Lena was sitting in a hospital bed, her eyes swollen shut. A man in a navy suit was signing some documents beside her. "What is this?" I whispered. "Evidence," Halden said. "Evidence of what they did to her. Evidence that would destroy them." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. He continued, voice low. "Lena didn't disappear. She tried to expose them. She went public internally, sent documents, recordings, everything she had. They came after her. They would have killed her if I hadn't taken her away." "Taken her away?" I snapped. "You hid her. You faked a disappearance." He didn't deny it. "I had no choice," he said. "And it worked, until last week." He walked over to the basement window, a tiny rectangle near the ceiling, secured with metal bars. He tapped the glass. 2 nights ago, someone tried to cut through this. A professional, quiet, quick. My stomach dropped. And tonight, he added, someone tried to break into your house. I blinked. What? No one broke into my... You didn't check your back door. My mouth went dry. I saw the scratches on the lock when I came to get you, he said. They weren't from a burglar. They were testing the mechanism, seeing how fast it could be opened. A cold wave washed over me. Why my house? Because, he said, staring into my eyes, you're the only person who's been inside this basement besides me. He let the meaning sink in. They think you know something, and they don't want you alive if you do. At that moment, every muscle in my body tightened. I looked at the woman on the bed, pale, motionless, breathing quietly through tubes. Then, at the man who had dragged me into this nightmare. What do we do? I whispered. He exhaled. We move her, tonight, and you're going to help me. I should have said no. I should have run, grabbed my phone, called the police, the FBI, the military, anybody. But fear does strange things. Fear makes you obedient. So, when Halden handed me a pair of gloves and said, we need to move her now, I didn't argue. I didn't even breathe. Where are we taking her? I whispered. He didn't look at me. Somewhere no one will think to look. Somewhere I should have taken her months ago. He unplugged a machine from the wall, carefully, like he'd done this 100 times, then locked it into a portable battery case. The screens flickered but stayed alive. I stared at Lena's face. She looked peaceful. Too peaceful. Like someone sleeping through a hurricane. Is she conscious? I asked, helping him move the tubes. No, he said, but she can hear things sometimes. She reacts. Reacts to what? To their names. That sent a chill down my spine. He lowered his voice. If they find her, they won't make the same mistake twice. We lifted her together, gently, awkwardly, and laid her onto a rolling stretcher. As soon as her weight settled, the basement lights flickered. I froze. Did you see that? Halden didn't answer. He just checked the breaker switches. Everything looked normal, too normal. Let's go, he said sharply. We pushed the stretcher up the basement stairs, every creak sounding like a gunshot. My hands were slick with sweat. My heart was beating so hard I thought it might wake the entire neighborhood. Then, a noise. Outside, a car door. Not loud, not rushed, slow, controlled, like someone deliberately closing it quietly. Someone's here, I whispered. Halden killed the lights instantly. Darkness swallowed the hallway. He motioned for silence, one finger against his lips. I held my breath until my lungs burned. Footsteps, not on the porch, in the yard, moving toward a window. Halden leaned close to my ear. Don't panic. Don't panic, I hissed back. He ignored me and crept toward the front of the house. I stood by the stretcher, gripping the metal railing so hard my knuckles turned white. The footsteps grew louder. Then, a shadow passed across the living room window. Tall, broad shoulders. A silhouette of someone who walked like they were trained for this. My chest tightened. Halden returned silently, his voice barely audible. There's a man outside, wearing a comms earpiece. They're sweeping the perimeter. Then we should call the police. His expression turned cold. They own the police. The hair on my arm stood up. He grabbed the stretcher, and despite everything, the fear, the darkness, the danger, he whispered, we leave through the back. Once we get to the car, we drive. No lights, no sound. I nodded, forcing my breath steady. We rolled Lena toward the back door. Another noise. This one wasn't outside. It was inside. A soft beep. A signal. The motion detector in the hallway lit up. A red dot glowing in the darkness. They're in the house, Halden whispered. My knees nearly buckled. How did they get inside? He lowered his voice. They were never outside. That was just to distract us. Every cell in my body screamed to run. And then, from the opposite end of the hallway came a calm male voice. Mr. Halden, step away from your wife. We both froze. Whoever was here wasn't hiding anymore. And he wasn't alone. I should have said no. I should have run, grabbed my phone, called the police, the FBI, the military, anybody. But fear does strange things. Fear makes you obedient. So, when Halden handed me a pair of gloves and said, "We need to move her now," I didn't argue. I didn't even breathe. "Where are we taking her?" I whispered. He didn't look at me. "Somewhere no one will think to look. Somewhere I should have taken her months ago." He unplugged a machine from the wall, carefully, like he'd done this 100 times, then locked it into a portable battery case. The screens flickered but stayed alive. I stared at Lena's face. She looked peaceful. Too peaceful. Like someone sleeping through a hurricane. "Is she conscious?" I asked, helping him move the tubes. "No," he said, "but she can hear things sometimes. She reacts." "Reacts to what?" "To their names." That sent a chill down my spine. He lowered his voice. "If they find her, they won't make the same mistake twice." We lifted her together, gently, awkwardly, and laid her onto a rolling stretcher. As soon as her weight settled, the basement lights flickered. I froze. "Did you see that?" Halden didn't answer. He just checked the breaker switches. Everything looked normal, too normal. "Let's go," he said sharply. We pushed the stretcher up the basement stairs, every creak sounding like a gunshot. My hands were slick with sweat. My heart was beating so hard I thought it might wake the entire neighborhood. Then, a noise. Outside, a car door. Not loud, not rushed. Slow, controlled, like someone deliberately closing it quietly. "Someone's here," I whispered. Halden killed the lights instantly. Darkness swallowed the hallway. He motioned for silence, one finger against his lips. I held my breath until my lungs burned. Footsteps, not on the porch, in the yard, moving toward a window. Halden leaned close to my ear. "Don't panic." "Don't panic?" I hissed back. He ignored me and crept toward the front of the house. I stood by the stretcher, gripping the metal railing so hard my knuckles turned white. The footsteps grew louder. Then, a shadow passed across the living room window. Tall, broad shoulders. A silhouette of someone who walked like they were trained for this. My chest tightened. Halden returned silently, his voice barely audible. "There's a man outside, wearing a comms earpiece. They're sweeping the perimeter." "Then we should call the police." His expression turned cold. "They own the police." The hair on my arm stood up. He grabbed the stretcher, and despite everything, the fear, the darkness, the danger, he whispered, "We leave through the back. Once we get to the car, we drive. No lights, no sound." I nodded, forcing my breath steady. We rolled Lena toward the back door. Another noise. This one wasn't outside. It was inside, a soft beep, a signal. The motion detector in the hallway lit up, a red dot glowing in the darkness. "They're in the house," Halden whispered. My knees nearly buckled. How did they get inside?" He lowered his voice. "They were never outside. That was just to distract us." Every cell in my body screamed to run. And then, from the opposite end of the hallway came a calm male voice. "Mr. Halden, step away from your wife." We both froze. Whoever was here wasn't hiding anymore, and he wasn't alone. Oh, the voice was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that only comes from someone who's done this before. Someone who doesn't fear consequences because they own the consequences. Halden squeezed the stretcher rail, eyes scanning the dark hallway. "Don't say a word," he whispered. But the man at the end of the hall spoke again, steady, almost polite. "You made this harder than it needed to be. Both of you." "Both of us." My stomach twisted. A small flashlight beam clicked on, slicing through the darkness. It illuminated the man's hand first, gloved, then the gun. A silencer. Of course. Halden stepped slightly in front of me, blocking the view of Lena. "You're not taking her," he said. The man chuckled softly. "You really think you're in a position to negotiate? After everything you've done?" Another beam flicked on, another man, then a third, 3 of them. My legs started shaking uncontrollably. "Why don't we make this simple?" the first man said. "You come with us, she stays, and you're Friend goes home safe. He meant me. Halden didn't move, didn't blink. She is not staying here, he said. Not with you. The man sighed as if genuinely disappointed. You always were the stubborn one. That's why she tried to leave you the first time. Halden's jaw tightened. I felt the tension shift, like a string pulled too tight suddenly snapping in the air. What is he talking about? I whispered. Halden didn't answer. He didn't even look at me, because the man wasn't finished. Did he ever tell you about the first hospital visit? The intruder continued. The broken ribs, the concussion. The official report said she fell down the stairs. But you and I both know who pushed her. My heart dropped into my stomach. No. I didn't want to believe it. I grabbed Halden's arm. Tell me he's lying. He still didn't look at me. The man laughed under his breath. Oh, she thought she could expose all of us, sure. She was reckless. She had no idea how deep this goes. But she didn't die from us. She suffered because of you. Halden's fist clenched so tightly his knuckles went white. You're twisting everything, he growled. You hurt her. You drugged her. We saved her from you, the man snapped back. You think we kept her alive because we cared? We needed her quiet. We needed her cooperative. But you were the unstable factor. My pulse roared in my ears. The man stepped forward slightly, lowering his weapon like he was bored of the conversation. Move aside, Daniel. Let's end this. Halden stepped back. Just one step. But enough for the man to see the stretcher. And that was his mistake. Because the moment the man turned his head toward Lena, Halden shoved me hard to the side and screamed, Run! Then everything happened at once. A gunshot, muffled but deafening, glass shattering, metal clattering to the floor. I fell backward, crawling blindly toward the back door. My breath was ragged, my vision swimming. Voices shouted, more shots, a loud crash. I grabbed the doorknob with shaking hands and yanked it open. Cold night air hit my face. Behind me, Halden yelled, Get her out of here, now! But I didn't know if he meant me. Or Lena. And then, a hand grabbed my ankle. Not Halden's. Someone else had slipped outside before me. A fourth man. I kicked, screamed, clawed the ground, but he pulled me into the darkness. His grip was like iron, cold fingers around my ankle, dragging me across the dirt like I weighed nothing. I twisted, kicked, screamed, anything to break free, but he didn't even flinch. The moonlight hit his face just long enough for me to see it. No emotion, no anger, just duty, like he was taking out the trash. Stop fighting, he said quietly. It'll only get worse. I dug my nails into the ground, pulling up clumps of wet grass. My heart hammered so violently I thought it might burst. Inside the house, more gunshots echoed, then a crash, then silence. Too much silence. Halden, I yelled, but the man yanked me hard, knocking the air from my lungs. Don't, he said. He has his own problems now. He grabbed me by the wrist and hauled me to my feet. I stumbled, nearly falling again. Where are you taking me? I gasped. He didn't answer. He just pressed something cold and metallic to my back. A gun. We moved through the darkness, around the house, toward the street. The world felt suddenly far away. Empty. Like the whole neighborhood had been swallowed. As we reached the driveway, a black SUV rolled to a stop. No headlights. 2 more men opened the doors. One stepped out, tall, bald, wearing a long coat. Is she the witness? He asked. Yes, the man holding me replied. And she's seen too much. The tall man nodded slowly. Put her in the car. My chest tightened. No, this couldn't be happening. I didn't see anything, I cried. I don't even know what this is. I don't know any of you. The bald man tilted his head, studying me like a specimen. Denial won't help. You've been inside the basement, you saw her, that makes you a liability. He stepped closer. And liabilities get handled. A wave of nausea rolled through me. I backed away, but the man behind me shoved me forward. Please, I begged. I don't want to die. The bald man actually smiled, a small, pitying smile. Death is the merciful option. We're not here for mercy. He motioned to the SUV. And then, a sound. At first I thought it was thunder, but no, It was an engine, roaring at full speed. A pair of headlights exploded into view at the top of the street. "Move!" the bald man shouted. The SUV men turned. Too late. A car came flying down the road, tires screeching, engine howling. It swerved, aimed directly for us. My breath caught. It was Halden. The car slammed into one of the men, launching him into the side of the house. Another dove out of the way. The man holding me shoved me aside and reached for his gun. Halden's car skidded sideways, fishtailing violently before stopping in the middle of the yard. The driver's door flew open. "Get in!" he screamed. I ran. I didn't think, didn't breathe, just ran. Bullets ripped through the night, punching holes into the car's metal frame. One whizzed past my ear, close enough to burn. Halden leaned across the passenger seat, pushing the door open for me. "Hurry!" I dove into the car. He floored the accelerator before I even closed the door. The tires screeched, kicking up dirt as we tore away from the house. I clutched the seatbelt with shaking hands. "Where's Lena?" I cried. Halden's jaw clenched. "She's still inside." "What? We can't leave her. We don't have a choice," he shouted. "They'll kill you first, then they'll take her." I stared at him, horrified. "Then what do we do?" He glanced at the rearview mirror, then at me, then at the road ahead. "We run," he said, "and we fight back." "But how?" I whispered. He swallowed hard. "Because I didn't just hide my wife," he said. "I hid something else, something they want even more." He looked at me with eyes full of fear. "And something darker. And now they know that you know." The road blurred past us, dark shapes whipping across the windshield as Halden drove like a man who'd already accepted death, but refused to let it be tonight. My pulse was pounding so hard it hurt. Every breath felt sharp, cold. "What do they want?" I screamed over the sound of the engine. "What did you hide?" Halden didn't answer immediately. He just kept driving, jaw clenched, eyes fixed on the empty road ahead. Finally, he said, "The evidence Lena collected wasn't just about abuse. It wasn't about the board members, the foundations, the corruption." He took a shaky breath. "It was about something much bigger." "What does that even mean?" I snapped. Halden glanced in the mirror. Headlights, far back, but gaining. "Hold on," he muttered. The car swerved around a curve so sharp I slammed into the door. "Just tell me!" I shouted. He exhaled, defeated. Lena uncovered an international laundering ring, money being moved through charities, clinics, nonprofits, billions disappearing, reappearing offshore. My stomach turned. "They killed people who got too close," he continued. "Journalists, accountants, one senator's aide, all marked as overdoses or accidents." I stared at him, horrified. "And Lena?" I whispered. She traced the entire network, names, accounts, transfers. He paused. "She had enough evidence to put half of them away forever." I felt dizzy. "So they came after her," I said. "Worse," he replied. "They came after us. Our house was burned down while we were gone. They sabotaged her car. I begged her to walk away, but she called a meeting with a whistleblower group." "And that's when they attacked her?" I asked. He nodded slowly. "She survived, but barely. When I told the police, they laughed. When I told the FBI, the agents who showed up were on their payroll." I covered my mouth, shaking. "That's when I realized," he said, voice cracking, "that the only way to save her was to make her disappear." I looked at him. Really looked at him. For the first time, he didn't seem like a millionaire. He seemed like a terrified, broken man who'd lost everything except the woman he was trying to protect. "But what did you hide?" I asked again. "You said it wasn't just her." He hesitated. "They knew she had evidence," he said. "But they never found where she stored the original files." "So where are they?" I whispered. He tightened his grip on the wheel. "In the basement? No. In your car? No. Then where?" He swallowed hard. "They're in your house." My throat closed. "What? Why my house?" "Because no one would suspect it," he said. "You had no connection to us, no motive, no access to our world." I felt cold all over. "What did you hide there?" The hard drives, he said. 3 encrypted drives with every document she collected. Banking trails, transfers, names, all of it. My heart felt like it stopped. They've been looking for those drives for over a year, he said, and now they know where they are. The headlights behind us grew brighter, closer, faster. Did you think they broke into your house tonight to kill you? Halden asked. I swallowed, terrified. They were looking for the drives, and then the SUV behind us accelerated, closing the distance like a predator. Hold on, Halden whispered. Why? I choked out. He looked at me, eyes full of terror. Because we're out of road. I turned. Ahead of us, the highway ended. A dead end, a concrete barrier, nothing beyond it but a drop into the ravine below. Oh my God, I whispered. We're trapped. Halden gripped the wheel tighter, his voice shaking. They're not taking you alive? Then the SUV rammed our back bumper, hard, and the world exploded into chaos. But here's where the story truly went off the rails. 2 weeks after firing the CFO and launching the emergency audit, something strange happened. Liam received a call, not from any investor, not from his team, but from his bank. They asked him a simple question. Mr. Hayes, are you aware that 6 new accounts were opened in your name in the last 48 hours? Liam froze. 6 new accounts? He hadn't opened anything. He hadn't even visited a bank in months. The bank continued. Each account was funded with a minimum deposit and immediately initiated outbound transfers to a Cayman Islands bank. It felt like someone had put a brick on his chest. At first, he thought it was Eliza finishing the job. But no. She had stolen cash from the company, not personal funds. So, who the hell was this? Liam tried to breathe, tried to stay calm, but then the bank rep said something that made his hands go numb. All 6 accounts were opened by someone using your personal driver's license, an image that appears to be taken on the same night as your DUI arrest. Liam hadn't had a DUI. He didn't even drink. But the police report was real. Someone had filed an official incident with his ID, his face, his signature. This wasn't embezzlement. This wasn't fraud. This was identity theft, but not random. This was orchestrated by someone with access to everything, someone who knew his personal life, his schedule, his weaknesses, someone close. But Liam's world shook again when he reviewed the bank's security footage from the account openings. It wasn't Eliza. It wasn't anyone he recognized from the company. It was a man, mid-30s, clean-cut, wearing a baseball cap. But the way he moved, the confidence, the access, Liam had seen him before. He ran facial recognition through an AI tool he used for verifying international hires. The match came back in under 4 seconds. Alex Murphy, Eliza's brother, a cyber fraud specialist, ex-government contract worker. Liam hadn't even known she had a brother. Now everything made sense. The precision, the timing, the way every failure dovetailed into the next, the destruction of his public image, the mugshot, the DUI, the leaked financials to competitors, the hacked investor emails. Alex had orchestrated all of it, using Eliza on the inside. They weren't just stealing money, they were taking him apart, piece by piece. Liam stared at the monitor, his pulse hammering. He whispered to himself, "Why me? What was the point?" But then, like a punch to the ribs, he remembered something Eliza had said in the middle of one of their early fundraising wins. Something he'd brushed off. She'd laughed and said, "You have no idea how many people you've beaten to get here." He assumed she meant competitors. He assumed wrong. When he dug into Alex's past, he found the answer. Years ago, before Liam built Apex Path, he'd worked at a small cybersecurity startup. Alex had applied for a job there. Liam, then a mid-level hiring manager, was the one who rejected him. The rejection triggered a chain event. Alex lost his apartment within months. His fiancée left him. He spiraled. His government contract application was denied because of instability. He blamed Liam for all of it. This wasn't revenge for Eliza. This was revenge for himself. A slow burn, multi-year vendetta, executed with surgical precision. Liam felt physically sick. He built a billion-dollar empire, only to have it dismantled by someone whose name he didn't even remember. But here's where the story flips. Liam, for the first time in months, stopped reacting, and he started planning. He pulled every system offline. He froze all company and personal accounts. He hired a private cyber forensics team, the kind used by governments, not corporations. He met with the FBI, who had already been tracking Alex for unrelated cyber crimes. And he did something Eliza and Alex didn't expect. He didn't hide. He went public. He posted a 6-minute video on YouTube titled, "How I Lost $40 million in My Entire Identity in 4 Weeks." Was all this worth it? The planning, the sabotage, the crime? Alex smiled, a cold, tiny smile, and he said, it would have been if he hadn't noticed the 6th bank account. Meaning, Alex had planned one more move, something even bigger, something he never got to execute, and Liam still doesn't know what it was. He just knows one thing now. Sometimes the people you don't remember you the most.